somatic work and all of this work we've been talking about is helpful in that you can get a bit more comfortable in that space of not knowing.
Welcome to Hot Flashes and Higher Self, the podcast where midlife becomes your awakening. I'm Soraya, a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist guiding women through perimenopause and beyond, embracing transformation rather than just symptom management. Each week, myself and inspiring women in wellness will dive into mindset shifts, somatic tools, spiritual practices, and the candid stories that move us towards our limitless selves. So, if you're navigating perimenopause, menopause, or simply just wondering what's next for me, then you're in the right place. Let's rise together, mind, body, and spirit. This is Hot Flashes and Higher Self. Before we dive in, I want to introduce you to today's guest, Hedi. She's a London-based holistic coach and somatic practitioner, the founder of The Soul Works, who weaves together coaching, nervous system regulation, mindfulness, and energetic practices to support deep healing and transformation. And what I love about Hedi is the way she bridges the practical and the mystical, and how her work can be such a powerful support for women navigating midlife transitions. And what I love about Hedi is the way she bridges the practical and the mystical, and how her work can be such a powerful support for women navigating midlife transitions. And she'll also be joining us as a practitioner at our upcoming retreat on the 20th of September. I know you'll get a real sense of the calm and grounding presence she brings. So here's my conversation with Hedi. I hope you enjoy it. Could you share a little about your own journey and what inspired you to become a holistic coach and somatic practitioner?
Yeah, no, of course. So I've been on this sort of self-healing path the past probably 12 years, 13 years since I moved to London, driven by my own trauma from childhood. And I think my own internal compass was always kind of in that direction. I was very curious about, how can I, in a way, optimize my lived experience. And through that, I've done a lot of trainings and certifications. I met a lot of teachers and healers and yoga, Reiki, mantra. So like the whole breadth of what you can do with sound, with the mind, with the body. And I really wanted to just bring it all together, to be honest. Obviously building on my own strength, but building it, bringing it together, because I genuinely feel like this is one of my skills that I was born with to relate to people this way.
And you talk about bridging the practical and the mystical. What does it mean in your work, when you work with clients?
Yeah, so I like to emphasize that because not necessarily everybody resonates with a more spiritual approach essentially, but my work is always coming from the top down. So I do follow spiritual truth and universal laws, which are actually often supported by quantum physics. So, for example, how consciousness impacts the physical reality around you. And, if you think about all the laws of manifestation that a lot of people teach is really built on that. And also, I'm in my own work, I'm moving more away from purely a mind kind of therapy, talk therapy style, because I recognize how much actually there's a lot of wisdom in the unseen, and whether that's your psyche or your soul, which I fundamentally believe in. I want to be that bridge because I can feel and sense all of that.
Yeah.
The higher self and the soul self, and the psyche, but also I'm very much like a grounded earth person who can relate to the physical reality. So for me, it's not about kind of ascension and going out and having spirituality as this thing that you have to attain up here, but it's actually more like bringing it all down into the body, into the physical
Mhm.
realm, so that we can be successful in the realities of this dimension that we live in.
Yeah, completely. No, I get that. And it's that saying that they say that it's you're a soul living a physical existence. So it's just our vessel, right? But we all have that soul. But you're right. A lot of people think you have to do specific things to reach that, that top self-actualization. But it's great that what you're doing.
And also, I think often when you start on this journey, you often chase these kind of experiences of almost like trance, like kind of heightened, elevated consciousness, and they're fantastic states to be in, and I think they can be very helpful, but they can also be very disorienting if
Yeah.
you don't have the physical presence and embodiment inside yourself. You can easily just want to almost like project out of your experience because everything is too much, because life is too much. There is suffering, there is brutality, there's a lot that is in no way in line with what we think is spiritual is. But I think true spirituality is the practice of embracing all of that, which I think is not the mainstream understanding of spirituality, perhaps.
Yeah, agree. Okay, and for listeners who may not know, what is somatics and how can it help with emotional regulation and release?
Yeah, so yeah, happy to give a bit of overview. So somatics really is an umbrella term for like body-based practices that aim to work with the nervous system, with our sensations and sensing, to learn to experience and sense the body from inside out. So that's because of that, the movements that we do can be very subtle and very mindful and almost directed, because what we want to do in somatic work is create more of a coherence between the mind and the body, so we can track what's happening inside of us when, especially when
Yeah.
something stressful is happening in the outside world.
Which is very important because I think that's a problem. A lot of us struggle day to day with stress and outside stuff happening, but it's again, we can't change those events happening. All we can do is manage ourselves, right?
Exactly that. We have to know when it's not our job to think to change some things, or we can't change some things, but we can always change how we respond, and our own perception we can work on, right? And that to me is pretty much falls
Yeah.
under the work of somatics and embodiment.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is embodiment so important in healing and personal growth?
Yeah, I love this question because I think this journey is so humbling when you start out. I think there is we all start out with accumulating information, learning about things. So the process tends to be very cerebral, even in somatic work, you start with learning about your nervous system, but then it only starts to make sense, and it will only really make a change in your life if you take that information out of the vacuum, this bubble, into the real life, and you start applying it. And to me, that is embodiment. So it's like you can know in principle how to drive, but you have to drive in traffic, in rain and snow, to be able to say that I can actually drive. And it's the same. Like I often see, especially people in the beginning of their kind of self-exploration, that they have a lot of cerebral understanding, but the life they're living is still not representing that understanding. So the embodiment is like actually coming off the mat and applying what you learn in your human interactions at work, with people, your family, so that things actually start to shift in your reality.
When you're describing that explanation to me, it just reminds me of a lot of people who have self-development books. So you buy loads of them and you read them and you love them, but then you put them back on the shelf and you don't actually apply them. So what happens is you have, you read, you enjoy it, but you don't actually apply it. So it doesn't actually go into you. It is not embodied in you, right? So yeah,
Yeah. It's
that's
it's it's
kind of,
that
yeah.
layers, it's like an onion, and there's always more, right? Like I
Mm.
don't think there is an end product that you've reached. Like we're so inherently complicated, complex beings. So I think you always kind of deepening the learning. But I think that process is a very humbling process, because you have to come down from the mind and the ego who thinks it knows, to the place
Yeah,
of, actually, I don't know, teach me.
I know.
And life will teach you. Life will give you
Yeah,
opportunities to practice, right? So, and you have to say
yeah.
yes. And that is the process.
Yeah, and it's the kind of evolution, isn't it? I think we all kind of evolve as we learn and things come to us, the experiences, but how it's you're reacting changes once you embody, like you're saying.
Yeah,
Even though the
and I
events might
think
be the same, but it's how you're reacting is different.
completely, yeah.
Yeah, which is really powerful. So, how does the nervous system regulation play a role in well-being, especially when people are dealing with stress, overwhelm, or big life transitions?
So this is where I may want to kind of go into more of the nervous system side of things because I fundamentally believe that it's such a helpful knowledge to learn about your own nervous system. I think if you ever go to yoga, you probably heard, sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight or flight, these are kind of common languages we use, but to truly understand how to identify your own states, your default states, how you respond to stress, whether you tend to be chronically stuck in a certain state. So I think having that awareness to track your states, to track your thoughts and how you're feeling, like your heart rate, your breathing, is is the first step in terms of allowing yourself to slow down time in the moment when those like stresses are happening, because what often happens, unless you're aware of what's going on, is that something triggers us, we react, we get out of range, and then that's when we are dysregulated. Like just
Mhm.
to put it simply. But what this work does is it gives you the option, because everything slows down, to respond differently. So in the moment, you can recognize where you are on your own scale of arousal before you go over a point of no return. And so I think in that it's hugely impactful, because then you can learn different breathing techniques to just not necessarily to manage your experience, because I do believe in the wisdom of every experience and what it teaches us, but more so that we can be with the experience. Because when people can't be with their experience, when they can't be with their stress, then they will numb out, they will dissociate, like shopping, scrolling,
Addictions
drinking,
as well, yeah.
addiction,
Mm,
hugely addictions to
yeah.
all sorts of things.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
so to me, that is the big power, that we learn to bring ourselves back to present so that we know
Mm.
what is going on in our heads, in our bodies, and that gives us space and option. And then once we have option, like we can preserve relationships, we can improve the quality of our interactions with people.
Hmm. Absolutely, yeah. And how can somatic practices help release emotions that we may not even be consciously aware of?
Yeah, I love this because it happens to me all the time. It's like
Mm.
when I have a niggling thing, when you just go around in loops in your
Yeah,
mind, and it's like
absolutely.
I just can't
The
figure it
thought
out.
patterns, right? The thoughts you keep coming, coming, coming.
And you just go deeper and deeper, and you just won't let go. And
Yeah.
that is the spot when I love to go into one of these practices. And sometimes, sometimes it's dance, and music for me is a big it's an evocative big part of my journey. Is that when I can't think my way out of something, I
Mhm.
just leave it on the side, just make a decision that I'm going to stop spiraling, and I'm just going to move my body in whichever way it feels good. And
Mhm.
often there is a surge of realization, and it's not even in the form of thought, it's in the form of emotion, it's in a form of sensation or impulse, or just feelings or images sometimes, like that something moves. It's like you have a revelation without having a story attached to it. And to me, that's like
Mhm.
it happened to me so many times. And it's so beautiful when you're like, oh, I don't actually have to understand and figure it out. Like certain things don't need to be said to be able to move through.
So you feel like when you're stuck in a loop pattern of thoughts, you move, you dance, and you're saying in that way you're able to to kind of go through it.
Yeah, so like when I notice myself really fixating on a story
Yeah.
or something that is driving me
Mhm.
crazy, I just have to kind of make a pact with myself that I'm going to put down the thought, I'm going to put down the spiraling for a moment. I'm just not
Mhm.
going to entertain it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do like something with my body, or go out into nature, or like engage my senses in some way. But that's why I said like I have playlists that I often use, like dancing helps me, or shaking sometimes, and just wait and slow down enough, like don't not having expectations, but actually just give myself over to the I'm just going to be present with my body. I'm just going to
Yeah.
listen. And when I'm in that space, things actually start to surface without force or
Hmm.
thinking.
What kind of things come out after you move your body?
It really depends um what I'm dealing with in the present moment. Often I feel like I'm stuck in a loop of a repeating pattern, and I don't and I have the internal sensation that I'm missing something. Like, and that's the other aspect of somatic work and embodiment work, is that you get more and more accurate in terms of your own barometer of where you are on the scale of, like, like what you say is true or not true. Because sometimes we tend to say things that we wish were true, and then internally like, oh, that was a bit off.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
that sort of sensation when you can't quite see it because we all have our tinted lens, but I know that I'm missing something there, and I can't think my way through it. And that's when dancing for me is very helpful, because that that blind spot is like illuminated just out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that probably explains why I like to dance. So I will dance if I'm feeling a bit, ugh, I'll dance and I always
Mhm.
feel better. I think that movement itself is so great, right? The movement of the body, or like I'll go for a jog, and that really helps me kind of get rid of that negative energy as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many different, different strokes for different folks. Like a lot of people find running meditative and having that cathartic effect, or spinning. So I think really it's just to like get into the body and the breath, and that's why often sometimes the vigorous movement where you have to coordinate the two
Yeah. Hmm.
has that releasing effect, calming effect on the body.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Going on to women in midlife, which is me, which is why I launched this podcast because
I can't
I,
believe it. You look gorgeous. I thought you were just
oh,
like my age.
thank you, Hedi. No, I am 48. I'm 2 years away from my 50th. So yeah,
Incredible.
thank you, Hedi. But I mean, I've always felt young at heart, but the last few years I can feel the different symptoms, and I didn't realize it was perimenopause until I started Googling and finding more stuff out.
Mm,
And it's kind of nice to understand that I'm not going crazy. But it's just kind of accepting it and also working through it, which is why I wanted to invite other practitioners on at the retreat, and just to kind of help women navigate this time of our life, because it is kind of scary at times when you
mm.
don't know why your body's changing, why you
Yeah,
feel
of course.
differently. So I wanted to ask you, many women in midlife experience changes ranging from perimenopause shifts to identity and purpose. How can your methods, somatics, nervous system work, mindset tools support women during the stage of life?
Yeah, as thank you. And thank you for saying that about your own experience. And admittedly, I'm not at that stage in my life yet, so I can't talk from personal experience. I have my opinions, I do my own research, I follow women who are in this space. So I just want to put it out there. But I also say that everything I said before applies still, and I think are incredibly helpful, especially I'm 37 next month, and so I'm already starting to think how to set myself up, not because I want to perfect my body or optimize, but
Yeah.
I think when we have a closer connection, a mind-body connection, when we know ourselves more, like when we have that personal responsibility built into our system, then perhaps when those times come, we are able to advocate more for ourselves, whether it be with the medical system, whether it be with the choices we make for our bodies, like to truly feel what is right. I think the key part of at least the work I'm doing is also for people to know what is right for them and not just take any information as gospel. Like what I offer, you don't have to believe it. Like take it, try it in your life and see if it's true. So really, I think when you're in that space and you reach perimenopause or menopause, then perhaps you're better able to advocate for yourself from all aspects in terms of what you need and even recognizing your own needs and knowing that you're not going crazy, but just kind of stand firmly in the reality that you're having in that moment.
And I think also when you spoke earlier, it's kind of keeping together like how you feel authentically, because I feel like that's probably the thing that I felt. My identity kind of felt different, losing confidence in myself. But I think the somatic work that you do probably would help that as well for women who are experiencing that kind of change and not knowing what's going on with themselves, kind of getting more attuned to themselves.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like obviously it's a huge once I'm still in my maidenhood, right? I'm not a mother, but that's a rite of passage, and I see menopause is another rite of passage when you reach the kind of crone years, and so
I hate
the
that term.
do
It
you
sounds so old, Hedi.
I mean I don't hate it. To me, it reminds me of wise woman. I can just
Yeah,
say wise woman.
I kind of, when I think of menopause, I think of the wise old woman in the village. That's what I think. So I kind of like that, the visual of a lady, an old woman there, everyone's coming for guidance, like in the Viking village. That's what I kind of see.
Yeah, whatever. I suppose whatever works, but I don't know. I think this topic is probably quite complicated because there's just so much of social stigma that we're dealing with that we don't even
Yeah.
realize in terms of the value and the usefulness of a woman. And and I think questioning that when in that age when our value is no longer in childbearing, work may become more difficult. And
Mm.
so perhaps kind of feeling like, oh, I'm becoming useless in a way, perhaps.
Yeah.
And
That-
and dealing so it's like how do you then fit in even in that space of not knowing of
mm.
what is my value now? Like what is my purpose? What is it that I'm doing? And I mean purpose beyond your job, but
Yeah.
like as a human being. Because I think it's really, and I have this actually, it's one of my most recent lessons in terms of usefulness. Like if I'm not doing things, I'm not useful. And
Yeah.
that makes me feel like I worth very little. And I can only imagine when you go through that phase, that intensifies. And there's a lot of inner, I think, holding of the uncertainty and the ambiguity and the not knowing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I would say that perhaps somatic work and all of this work we've been talking about is helpful in that you can get a bit more comfortable in that space of not knowing
Yeah.
and holding that and without abandoning your value in use, like
Mm.
holding on to that and not giving in to the story that the mind conjures because it's all fear based. And so like finding your way in the darkness, I think that those are the times where spiritual work is is put to the test, right?
Yeah.
Not when
No,
you're having a
absolutely.
great time and at your peak, but
Yeah.
like when you're going through the tunnel and all you have is yourself in your face.
It's more like it's more like a roller coaster tunnel. Like one of those roller coasters going up and down, but you're in a tunnel. You don't know what's coming next. It's like it is really scary when you don't know what to expect, especially when it's not really talked about. It's talked about more now than it was my mother's and my grandmother's
Yeah,
generation, but it's still kind of relatively new, and it is scary when you're alone, you not know what to expect, and you have this identity of who you think you are. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you feel attractive, you feel this, and then all of a sudden, you can't have children anymore, and the identity as a mother is no longer, you can't have any more. It's just that it's a weird feeling, Katie. So
no, thank
it's
you for telling me about it. And as you were saying, the other thing that came to mind is God, I'm having a moment. My own
Oh, I
brain
get that
fog.
brain fog.
Maybe I'm also
First,
reading that space too early. Jesus. Yeah, actually, with that is from the brain fog is this pressure because it's unknown.
yeah.
How humans deal with unknown is that they have this immediate pressure of make it go away. Like
Exactly. Well,
I'll
that's what
do.
I did, Hedi. I ignored it at first. At first, when things happened, I was like, oh, that's just weird, but that's okay. I ignored it. And then actually, I realized I was in perimenopause when I thought I might be pregnant because I didn't get my period. It was late. I felt tired. I had the usual symptoms from pregnancy. And when I went to the doctor, she checked my hormone levels. She said, oh, yeah, it's normal for a woman your age going through perimenopause. I was like, oh, okay. So, up until then, I hadn't realized that the
Mm.
brain fog, the fatigue, all of these symptoms apparently very normal for perimenopause, but I didn't know what to expect. So I just thought menopause, your period ends and that's all there is to it. I didn't know about the whole fun part about the 10 years up until menopause, which is where I am.
Yeah, I suppose awareness is a big part of it. I remember when my mom was going through it, and there was no awareness. We were just like, she felt like a burden, and it sounds so horrible to say, but
Yeah.
she had hot flushes. She was having an awful time, and in thinking back, I wish I was a bit older,
Mm,
so I could have understood. And I feel so sorry for that she had to go through this experience without support, without understanding, and
mm,
just the same expectations of her, like everything was the same and things were not the same. And so I can only imagine that the complexity of the inner world that you're going through, but then the external doesn't stop. So you still have dependencies and expectations, and that you have to show up
exactly.
and you have to operate.
You're expected to be the same as you were like 10, 15 years ago, when obviously your hormones are playing a big part in it and you feel different. And on the outside, people don't understand. So it is really kind of alienating, I think. And that's why I thought it's so important to talk about it and to understand there's ways to help as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. And look, I read of women who have experience of nothing major, like a blissful perimenopause, menopause, like a lovely transition. There are some women who are really struggling. So I think it's really the same question as like, there are no two births that are the same. It's so individual, and I'm not going to, I can't go into like the nourishment and nutritions and the hormonal helps and all of that, because I'm genuinely not an expert. But I think just back to my point of wanting to make it go away, I think as as a society we definitely have that as our immediate response to inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm not surprised now. There's all these like, oh, just take this hormone and you'll be okay. And I may come to that point as well. I don't know if you feel bad enough, I suppose, but there's a part of me that hopes that with more understanding and more there is some level of natural things we can do on with our bodies and minds and on spiritually that perhaps can make this transition a bit less grueling.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I do believe that, everyone's on their own path, everyone experiences it differently. Some women choose to go HRT. I mean, I personally haven't yet. I don't know. I'm going to see what happens. But in the meantime, I am kind of working, with myself. I exercise, eat well, mindset work. Yeah, and that's why this podcast also, I like to have other practitioners on to talk about what they do as well and what they recommend and how they see the midlife time, because I don't think it's the
Mm.
end. We're kind of like on the shelf, we're shriveled up. We still have, I kind of think it's exciting because it's a new chapter. It's like you've
Yeah.
done all the stuff you had to do, and then you kind of focus on you. And I really don't care so much what people think of me anymore, whereas I did a lot when I was younger. So I think
Mhm.
that's a good thing, right?
Yes, definitely. That's a very good thing.
Yeah, so I think there are loads of good things, and I think it's just about exploring that new chapter and kind of, embracing it, as opposed to kind of thinking it's the end. And it's not like it used to be. I think growing up, we had this idea when you're in your 40s, you're really old. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah, no, me too. And that's back to the societal like conditioning. So I think that's a big
Yeah.
part of actually how bad someone can feel. It's in comparison to what they think they should be doing, or perhaps they
Mm.
should be feeling or behaving.
Yeah, because times have changed, right? I think now, the number, age is just a number. I think how you feel on the inside, I see some amazing social media accounts. They're like old women, like in their 80s, still working out, and they look
Yeah,
fantastic.
100%. And everything shifted out, So I think with the animal kingdom, I think we adapt as well.
Yeah.
Women started to have children later as well, and I'm also curious of the long-term impact of that in terms of women going into perimenopause, menopause while they still have like teenage children potentially. You know,
Me.
there you go.
I have a soon to be 20-year-old daughter and my youngest is 8.
Oh
So
well,
I
okay.
yeah, I kind of find it a bit, difficult because I also have a 15-year-old daughter. So like, and a 14-year-old boy. So the puberty and everything kind of hits with my hormones as well. So we have
Yeah,
times where
it's a nice cocktail there.
yeah, it's an
Lot going
interesting
on.
time at home. So yeah, it is quite challenging at times, but yeah, it's like you said, it's just a new chapter and it's just about kind of maneuvering around things and enjoying it more, I think that's what it is now. I understand that this is perimenopause. It's okay. It's just kind of shedding light on what it is and how to do, kind of how to make it easier.
Yeah, and also I think telling your people that are closest to you, because
Yeah.
I think once they understand, even your children, they're at an age when they can understand, so that there's
Um,
more
to
compassion.
stop you there, I told my daughter, my eldest, she goes, "But you're too young to promote." I said, "No, Jimmy."
No,
But I just
that's
thought
not
it's
what
really
you want to
important.
hear.
But I think it's important
Bless
just to have
her.
conversations. I didn't have that from my mum. So my mum went through it. Now on reflection, I realized at the
Yeah,
time she must have been going through it with like her mood swings and everything because she was quite
yeah,
calm. So I think now on reflection, because she's no longer with us, I can't speak to her. But now I understand it more. So I think the conversation I'm trying to have with my daughters so they know what to expect,
yeah. So you're
And I
already
think
changing. It's already changing, I think,
yeah,
with
it's
every
changing.
generation.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the idea. That's the way it become easier as we go along. Yeah, thanks for that conversation. I know it's not something that you said from the beginning, you didn't have the experience, but it's
It was
great that we
very
can have that.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's something you would experience anyway, Hedi. So you're going to
Mm,
experience it at one point anyway. So
exactly. So I
I think
can only prepare myself.
we can't escape it. Every woman is going to go through it. So that's one thing I think it's great, that we're talking about it more.
Mm,
So,
so
Heidi, you
true.
facilitate group workshops and your Embrace program. What kind of transformations have you witnessed in those spaces? Tell me.
Yeah, so the workshops are more the somatic work. So there isn't really any talking, but it's more kind of a meditative space with gentle movement. I'm bringing music to match the frequency of whatever the teaching is of the day. I'd like to bring in a theme, whether that's an inner child or like forgiveness or acceptance. So there's just like simple themes that give a frequency to the container. And people, well, first and foremost, people tend to experience like a deep sense of peace by the end of the practice. This sort of, when you feel clear-headed, clear in
Mm,
your heart, in your body, and you just feel really at peace. So that is number one. And I do have people telling me, like they would have things, memories, or even aches and pains in their bodies come up as a
mm,
result of no longer bracing their bodies and just truly letting go and getting in. Um, so both of those could happen. Sometimes people would get a bit more emotional and potentially some like deeper things or traumas would surface in that sense. So it really depends on the person. Um, and my private work, that is more of a combination between therapy, mentorship, um, kind of energy healing. So it's a right mix. I still bring in the somatic element, but
mm,
because it's one-to-one, I tailor it more to the person. So I I just feel into what is needed, what they're going to respond to, And so I bring in the tools, whether that's from coaching or therapy or from energy work or spiritual concepts. But really that's the sort of toolkit that I use. But in terms of um, experience and transformation, it's interesting because most of the people that I work with would come from a similar path that I've been on. So this kind of perfectionism would be a key theme that we work with. Also, often difficult childhood or difficult relationship with parents would surface. But really, it's centered around pattern work. So the things that keep repeating and hindering, kind of go into those and shine the light and detangle. So it's
Yes.
like I just show people the way, like this is I think where you should go and where you should look. And
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I think the beliefs, the patterns is the resolution is a
Mm-hmm.
big theme.
And where are you based, Hedi? Is it because was your workshop in Richmond?
So I'm in East London now.
You're in East London.
Yeah, so but I do most of my one-on-one work online anyway. Works
Mm-hmm.
quite well with the longer term. With my longer term clients, I would tend to see them as well in person a couple of times in a more kind of laid back setting. Um,
And your workshops, were they in Richmond then? So
yeah,
where,
so no, my workshops at the moment are in Kent
oh,
in a
in Kent, that's
beautiful venue called Kingdom. Yeah, on every once a month on a Sunday.
okay. And how long are your workshops? How many hours?
90 minutes. They're 90
90 minutes.
minutes. Yeah. Just long enough to kind of get into that deep state of meditative state.
And do you have like a maximum number you have in your class?
It really depends on the capacity of the venue. I've held a
Mhm.
workshop with over 40 people, or 12 people, like even less with smaller spaces. So it really, I've had workshops in my own home for 6 people. So yeah, it really depends. Like if it's a more intimate group, I like to do some hands-on healing at the end and bringing in essential oils as well for grounding. Obviously with bigger groups it's not possible, but um yeah, I would say yeah, I've not done necessarily more than that.
Okay. And why do you think community and shared practice can be so powerful and unique?
Yeah, I actually thought of this because I've been a little bit kind of an island lately, and I thought, it would be nice to go on a retreat or like at least a day something. And I think this desire to that for me personally, what I like to go into these spaces is because I know that I have blind spots and I
Hmm.
know that through others I can see myself when others share. And
Yeah.
also like that's why I find it so important to always have a teacher who can point you in the direction that you need to go, even if you're a practitioner yourself, like you are, we all need someone else who can help us see ourselves. So to me, like the real value of these shared spaces is in like seeing yourself through others' stories.
And you'll also be joining us as a practitioner at the
Yeah.
upcoming retreat in City, which I'm excited about. Thank you, Haiti, for joining.
No, me too.
And what can women expect from you during your session?
Yeah, so fully work that one out. Yeah, closer to time I will, but it will be
Okay.
similar to the workshops I'm doing at the moment that I just spoken about. A bit of
Yeah.
meditation, somatic movement, um, music, essential oils. See how it goes. Like I do tend to have a loose plan and an intention, but honestly, I have changed it before, like right on the spot based on who were in the room. Yeah, because if
Yeah,
you want to
that's
match
great.
the
I think that's the
energy,
best way, Haiti. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I think that's the best way to go. I think sometimes when you have something fixed and people that have different energy, it just kind of doesn't work. So I think you've got a
yeah,
great intention, great plan there.
yeah. So I'll tune
I'm
in
looking forward
a
to it.
few days before and then see what the mood is like, what people are like, and then go from there. Surprise.
Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, and so what's one simple somatic or embodiment practice that women listening could try at home today?
Uh, Honestly, I would say is it's the slowing down. So
Mm.
like you don't have to take time out for self-work. Just take whatever mundane thing you do, like making your coffee, making your tea, making your breakfast, taking the dog out for a walk, and see if you can be just 2% more present. Like, can you notice the smell of the coffee? Like, can you enjoy the smell of the coffee? Or, can you feel your feet on the ground? Like something small that brings you to the moment, perhaps using your senses, perhaps using your breath, but like really without the need for you to take time out, but just bring that into what you're currently doing. Because we don't even realize until we start this practice how much we're doing things on autopilot.
This is a great tip. It's so true, Hedi. I find this when I get really stressed, that's what I need to just slow down. And I just go for a walk and I look at the trees, at the grass. And I've just started to do this more and more, especially with my youngest. I say to her, look at the grass, look at the different, types of shades of green there
Mm,
is. And, that is such a great way. So, and it's an easy thing to do as well. I think you're right. You don't
beautiful.
have to
Yeah.
take time out, just not
No,
doing things like you said, autopilot.
not at all. Like even, hanging the clothes, the laundry, like instead
Yeah.
of thinking about what you're gonna cook for lunch while you're doing it, you can just notice the fabric or the smell of the clothes and just linger there for a few moments.
I love that. Yeah, especially I think with women, who have children and who are trying to work as well. I'm always multitasking and it's hard. Sometimes I have to stop myself saying no, because you have to be present, it's otherwise you get burnt out, basically, constantly on the go.
Yeah, I genuinely think a lot of the burnout is from that you here physically, but mentally you're
Yeah,
elsewhere. And and I swear to God, this practice really works. Like it does create more space in your life.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
so it yeah. So I'm like, I no longer accept the excuse I don't have time. Yes, you do.
No, I agree. I know. I think that's a really, really good tip you gave. So that's a great one. So, do you have a
Absolutely.
personal ritual or practice that helps you stay grounded, Haiti? What do you do?
I mean, everything I just said, I do.
Yeah. Hmm.
And also nature, massive. Often it's like I can't be asked to think of any elaborate ritual. I just need to go out into the forest and and I take my shoes off, walk on the grass, and that sets me back to like a more balanced state without me having to do anything. So that really works for me. I do like to use mantras. So put on like mantra and sing it. I
Hmm.
find that very calming as well. But sometimes that is the more elaborate and don't have time or space for it. Yeah, I would say perhaps and spoke about and noticing beauty, and maybe this connects back to nature, is I find the appreciation of something that's beautiful, I find that very calming and
Yeah.
regulating itself. And obviously when something is obviously beautiful, then it's easy. But I think
Mm.
with this practice, I start to notice at least that I can see things beautiful that you would just walk past or not necessarily
Hmm.
take time. But for me, connecting to beauty is like connecting to God, like feeling that ethereal quality on Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And so, what's lighting you up most in your work at the moment?
Uh, well, full disclosure, I've been doing a work on the side of the soul work. So I'm also in employment, so I haven't had so much time, and probably because of that, I'm really enjoying writing.
Mm.
And because I
What are you
have less
writing?
time, just like copy for my newsletter or for a
Hmm.
Substack. Because I have much less time, I have much less time to overthink or overanalyze what I'm saying, and it's actually
Yeah.
feeling really good.
Uh-huh.
That I feel more of me is coming through that way.
That's a great way of looking at it. I love the reframe. Rather than saying I haven't got time, I like the fact that you've said, oh, well, I have less time. However, that's why I'm enjoying it more.
I
you
mean,
know?
look, I've been through this, right? Like I was doing just the soul work for over 2 years, and then I went back to employment, and there was a massive shock on my system, and then a lot of these kind of almost like midlife crisis questions come up,
Mm.
and so I worked my way through all of those doubts and questions, and that's how I arrived into this space of like I'm accepting my reality, and I know that this is for a reason, and but I'm still committed to, my business. And so what can I do in that time I have? And so that allows me to drop the perfectionism, which is a big theme in my work and in my life. And so if anything, maybe it was already worth it going back to work. Because now I'm
Yeah, well,
working on my
again,
perfectionism.
but it goes back to what you said earlier about like in life, things are put in your way for a reason, and you work through it and you evolve from that, right? So it's how you're seeing
100%.
it, your perception of what's going on around you, which I love as well. It's true, right? Because
100%.
some people will say, oh, it's so difficult. I've got two jobs. But the fact that you've reframed it when they're like, no, it's a good thing because it's showing I don't have to be perfect and I can just write authentically, not
And
overthink.
actually, I've been kind of diving into more into Kabbalah lately, and it's a teaching of Kabbalah, that everything is good, that
Mm.
in fact everything that happens is good. And obviously there's so much nuance to it, but if we just come from the fundamental truth, like that acceptance that this is the path that I'm meant to be on, and that there is no alternative version of me or alternative universe that should be happening. Like where I am is the culmination of me. And I can change it, because I can decide there's free will, but there is a reason for why I'm here in this particular
Yeah.
position.
And it's again, things are happening for a reason, they're there, but it's how you deal with them is the difference, right? So you can react, like opposite way, take it really badly, or you can kind of work through it, right? Which is what you're doing, and it's working well for you.
Yeah, I think so. It's really teaching me about personal responsibility as well, like fully owning your reality, like whether you like it or not. I think because then it makes me feel more powerful in terms of creating a different reality if I don't like the
It's
current
empowering.
one.
That's perfect way of describing it. It's an empowering thing because it's your choice how you react.
Yeah. And also like just accepting if you can't do it differently,
Mm.
like if it was if I could just wave a magic wand, then I would only have the soul works and I would be very comfortable from all aspects. And it's just not the reality at the moment because of my
Mhm.
energy levels and a bunch of other things that it's not for this podcast, maybe another podcast where we talk about human design, for example. But I
Yeah,
think accepting of what you're capable of at this very moment,
yeah,
and not beating yourself up about a future version that you think you could be as well. I think we often
yeah.
think that, oh, we should be able to do different, but it's not always the case.
Yeah. And I think that's very fitting again when we go back to women in midlife, not beating yourself up for what's happening. It's just like kind of working with it as well. That's really important, I
Yeah,
think. I don't know,
such
you
a good
kind of have
point.
different, well, yeah, you kind of question yourself, oh, what's my life about? I should be doing this, but no, it's whatever's happening is good. Just kind of work with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it totally applies. I think all these aspects make the experience probably much worse, like this self-beating, the pressure
Mm.
from external. I think it probably creates that existential threat.
Well, there is a lot more anxiety during midlife. That is quite a thing. I mean, I myself experienced a lot of anxiety, but much more than I ever did before. It's great what you're saying. It applies to midlife as well. It's just kind of like going through it, and it's how you're perceiving it. It's like it's not the end. Just reframe and you just kind of move along. Right? Could leave midlife women listening one message about reconnecting with themselves. What would it be?
Um, I think it would be just accept where you
Mhm.
are, how you are, who you are.
Yeah.
Like, don't overanalyze or make it into a project that now you need to do something. It's the very simple practice of when the thoughts come of self-berating, or I should be, or it should be different, or just like, God, I can't believe I feel this way again. Like when the thought comes, just decide you put it down and you just accept what is true at the moment. And whether it might be a moment of forgetfulness or brain fog or hot flash, like whatever you're dealing with, I think that to me has been one of the most powerful practices, acceptance, because we can't shift anything until we have acceptance of it. Like I had to learn that the hard way. Like we have
Yeah.
to fully and that's why I'm saying like take out the over analysis, it's not a project because it's actually very simple. It's like you just lean back and it's like, no, I accept myself no matter what, here and now. Even the
Yeah.
shit or the questionable behavior or the pains or discomfort, like whatever it is, I think it's a very profound practice of having full approval for the
Mm.
experience that we're having.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. Okay, and at the end, I close every episode with the same two questions. So, firstly, what's something your body or intuition has been teaching you lately?
My current lesson that I'm working through is around when I want something to change, and and my biggest initiator in life is relationships,
Mm.
romantic relationships. And it's like when you think you have a problem with someone or you want someone to change, it's actually about you. And there is something you need to change.
That's,
And by you need to change, I don't mean, okay, now you take responsibility for everyone, or now you just have to
mm,
put up with everything, or again,
yeah.
or just start shaming yourself or judging yourself. It's not that. It's the realization that the world is a mirror to what's going on inside. And sometimes the lesson is to draw boundaries. Sometimes the lesson is to not put up with a certain behavior.
Yeah.
But even that is about you, not the other person. And so, like, because I have felt a fair bit of frustration lately with certain things, so I have to like really get clean with my own participation
Mm,
in all of those things that I wanted to change. And that included the responsibility included me speaking up more or like
mm,
vocalizing what is okay, what is not okay, like
mm,
boundaries. So absolutely. But it wasn't about like like banging your head against the wall trying to change something
mm.
outside of you, because like
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you feel that energetically. It's like because that's what I felt, like constantly banging my head against the wall, and I'm just like, I can't live like this. Like I
Yeah.
need ease. And so I started looking at how am I contributing to this dynamic.
Hmm.
So
And
it's like,
so,
how am I contributing to the dynamic that I dislike?
was did you change something then?
I also had to check. Yeah, there was a few different things that I had to
Hmm.
change, and it was partly the self responsibility of being more assertive,
Yeah.
but it was also like a lot of my own insecurities
Yeah.
coming to the surface that I needed to tend to like I needed to learn to hold myself when I was being triggered or was flipping out,
Mm,
instead of demanding the other person to soothe me or make it better, because
yeah.
that is why we want to change someone, because we can't deal with the repercussions of that behavior. And so I had to learn to hold myself in that discomfort before I could even think of what's the right choice to make. And that's back to embodiment, like staying in my own experience. Yeah.
And the spiritual level, I did study the Akashic records, and it was talking a lot about how we choose people before we're even born that come into our
Yeah.
lives for a reason, because we're learning lessons. So they might trigger us. That's something we have to work through. So I guess that's when you telling me that story just reminds me of what I read.
Yeah, totally. I didn't necessarily want to take it esoteric, but absolutely, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
I
into
always
all
love
this
that,
stuff.
Heidi.
I'm
I'm
into
on
all
all
this
levels.
stuff. I actually just wrote a Substack last week about what if the reason for your like childhood trauma or upbringing is actually in the future. So it's not like you lack self-confidence or you lack self-worth because what happened to you in the past, but more so you were
Happen.
born here with a set of lessons and almost like you have this kind of almost like a course set out for you that you need to walk down. And for you to be able to walk down that, you needed those specific parents. You needed those specific
Yes. Mm,
experiences so that it makes you the person who will be able to walk that and take those challenges. So it's
mm.
kind of mind-boggling a little bit, but it was very helpful for me to stop like blaming my parents, to stop being in this space of like I can't move on, I can't forgive,
Mm.
like like a bit of a victim
Yeah, which
circling.
stops you from evolving when you're constantly a victim, you're blaming others for how you are. You can't, that's really disempowering, right? So it's good to reframe that as well and see, yeah, you've come, but you're learning stuff and you're growing through it. And yeah, that's why I named the podcast, Hot Flushes and Higher Self, because I do really believe in the higher sense. There's things happening for a
Yeah, and I
reason.
love that.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to chat all day about
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
Cashew
whole
record.
different world. Yeah.
No, but it's great. And last question I had for you was, what does living as your limitless self mean to you right now?
Um, I mean, I'm not sure if it's anything fancy, to be honest. I think
Have to be.
it's authenticity. It's
That's a great thing,
w-
Hedi.
with everything that is one of the big themes in my life. I'm just trying to because like I'm tired of questions like, oh, but these people are not even good people, and look how good they have it. And I'm just like, and I was like, why? Like, why? Because they're authentic.
Mm.
And maybe it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. And I'm not advocating for you to be an asshole, obviously, but it really got me thinking, like, what makes you a successful human being? And of course, there's other aspects that makes a good human being, but I think authenticity is a very high vibration when someone is just true to their impulses and their nature and embrace their nature, even if it's
Yeah.
considered challenging or inconvenient for someone. So yeah, I think allowing myself all of those aspects to have expression.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to be limitless. So, and that's how I kind of feel in this time of my season. I thought that I can just be myself, whereas before I'd always be worried what others would be thinking, culturally and whatever other way. But whereas you get to the point when I think where I'm living now, I'm just kind of being me, and
Yeah.
I that makes me happy. I don't have to pretend to be something or have it's a good thing, I think, for everyone just to be able to be themselves.
And you know what, like as you say, it sounds so simple, like, oh, be yourself. But the thing
I
is, if
know.
if
Yeah.
you if you come from a background where you could never be yourself or you were
Yeah.
punished for being yourself, then
Mm.
it is very possible, and it was very possible in my case, that you're completely collapsed around who you are and what it
Yeah.
means to be you. It's like it's possible to be that disoriented in the world about your identity that you don't even know how to truly be you. And every time you then try what you feel like you're you, people start pushing back because they
I
don't
know. Yeah.
like that other version. So, like if you're
Well,
listening and you're one of those people, I feel you.
no, but don't get me wrong. I still have that now. Like people are pushing back for me being who I am, saying I've changed, but I don't care. That's the difference. And now I don't care, whereas before I would. But you're right. There are certain cases people can't be themselves because they are also, obviously, I'm not referring to everyone's different. But in general, I think, age-wise, as you go midlife, you just don't care so much about external validation. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I understood completely what you said. I think it's more like I just want because even in my head, sometimes, if you're someone who for whom it's very natural and you don't have that specific issue in your life, then
Yeah.
it's great. It probably sounds like, oh yeah, okay, be yourself. But there's a significant part of the population who you don't even know where to begin, and you
Yeah.
only really figure this out, like as you say, like you hit these milestones, I think, like your Saturn return, like around 30 is a big one, and then have the midlife point, and then, for women, the perimenopause, menopause, like all these thresholds of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, or maybe shedding another layer, or like, and you change as well, right? So that's the other thing, like you don't just stay the same either.
No, and they kind of like it's highlighted to me because I've got teenage children and they're very easily embarrassed. I didn't realize I'm so embarrassing, but they get embarrassed by anything. I'm like, how is that embarrassing? Like if I speak out loud, it's embarrassing to them. And I think, oh my God, I think I probably was like that as a teenager, but now obviously as a woman in my late 40s, I don't care. It, you
Good,
know. But it's
brilliant.
weird because we have to go through those stages, I guess. Obviously, as a teenager, it's different to being in your
Yeah,
40s. Like you've had many more years and, you realize things don't matter so much, right? Yeah, it's true, right?
yeah.
So it's
Luckily,
so
like
nice.
like aging takes care of itself sometimes. You don't even need to do anything. It's just life experience. The parents are just full stop embarrassing.
So yeah, limitless self. Yeah. So for you also as being authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Great. So, and before I say goodbye to you, Hedi, how can my listeners find you? You have a website? I know you have a website.
Oh
Do you want
yes, thank you. Yeah, so I am on Instagram on the Soul Works with a dot between each word. And also my website is thesoulworks.com. Super simple, easy to find. I do have some free resources for finding peace. A lot of somatic practices
to?
available, like in a little mini guide. Yeah, maybe I can send a link to include on the show notes.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I'll put all of that in the show notes, so it'll be easy to find. But
Sounds
thank you so
good.
much, Katie, being my first guest. It means a lot that
And
you
of
made
course,
it.
thank you for the invite.
And of course, and I'm going to see you at the retreats. Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Heidi. I hope you felt inspired and grounded like I did. And just a little reminder, our upcoming retreat is happening on the 20th and 21st September at the Reconnect Studio in Queen's Park, London. We're keeping it really intimate, so just 10 women. And I've still got a few places left if you'd like to join. Heidi will be there as one of our amazing practitioners, and it's going to be such a beautiful weekend of rest, release, and reconnection. And if this speaks to you, you can find all the details and book your spot through the link in the show notes. I'd love to see you there. Thanks so much for listening to Hot Flashes and Higher Self. And if something in today's episode spoke to you and you're feeling ready for deeper support, then you can book a one-to-one session with me. I work with women around the world to help them shift from stuck to self-led. And if you're craving real connection, movement, rest, and reset, then check out the women's retreats I host. They're a beautiful mix of healing, hot yoga, incredible food, and soul-deep conversations and connections. And you can find all the details at www.ls-therapy.com or come hang out with me on Instagram at Limitless Self Therapy. And you can also reach me directly anytime at soraya@lstherapy.com. I'd love to connect. Take care of you, fill that cup of yours, and remember, your next chapter is already unfolding.